Hello and welcome to our brand new podcast, Blue Minds, breaking down the stigma of mental health. You can find us on all streaming platforms, and if you're watching on our YouTube channel, please subscribe, as this really helps. And with me today, I've got Tom Oxland as a co-host from the Blues Focus team, and we're joined by Billy Cross. He's a Blues fan. He's currently living in Tamworth. Spoke to him a little bit the other day. Seems like a great guy, and the work he gets up to in his spare time is brilliant as well. So yeah, how you doing first of all, Billy?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Short notice podcast, but I'm up for it. I'm always up for a challenge.
Yeah, that's what I said,
Good.
mate. No planning, it ends up being better anyway. It's more real. Are you all right as well, Tom?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate.
Good, mate. Yeah. So, we'll get straight into it, really. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to, start this podcast up, as you all know, but I think everyone knows now, we've seen it over media, in the news, mental health is on the rise, suicide rates are through the roof. And no doubtedly, it's probably going to get worse than this, I feel, after the pandemic, when that is over anyway. So, I mean, in my experience, being a barber for over 10 years now, I speak to a lot of males, and it's one thing that, it still gets to me really, that I see a lot of people having haircuts, and even people that are having haircuts with me, and you can just tell that there's so much shame behind mental health. And I suppose it guess what other people are gonna say about them, especially in that environment, in the barbers. But just everywhere, I feel like even when I've been out with my mates with the past, as guys, we seem to talk about the football, the beers, whatever sport, but how many times we really sit down and talk about the things that really matter in life, which is our mind. I feel anyway. So just to start it off, really, Billy. I know we spoke. Obviously, you were saying you had some anxiety, you suffered with anxiety and stuff. So just really, when was your first sort of experiences with anxiety, and how old was you?
I think I've got to give my age away. You asking me that already? I think it was like 15 years ago, so I'd have been 25. I'm 41 now. I know I don't look it, but that's right. But yeah, 15 years ago, man, just had a panic attack out of the blue. I didn't know anything about mental health, or I'd never heard of the term panic attack. Like, that's kind of what I say to people now that don't understand about it. Like, why would you? It's hard to know about something if you've never experienced it. But like, that was my first experience 15 years ago, and it's never gone away, man. Never gone away. It's just,
I mean,
escalates.
do you find ways to sort of deal with that better now, though, than sort of 15 years ago, or sort of coping mechanisms?
Yeah. So back then, like, I knew nothing about it. So, like, I didn't even know what it was. I spent the night lying on the bathroom floor, just like freaking out. Went to the doctors. Their advice was to cut caffeine, stop smoking. That was the advice that I was given at first. But it didn't really change anything. Like, I cut back on caffeine. And then just over the years, like, nothing really got any better. It was just getting worse. I was housebound for a bit, agoraphobic, experiencing panic attacks like more regularly and stuff. And then I had CBT a couple of times with the NHS, went private, spent a fortune. And then in the end, just started making progress myself. Just, I think I picked up that much knowledge, read that many frigging textbooks on it, and spoke to that many different people. Because at first, like, I didn't know I was the only person in the world that had experienced a panic attack like that. Like, nobody had it as bad as me. That's what I thought. But obviously, there's millions of people out there that struggle with it, and I guess, I don't know, we all go on that same journey. I guess we don't know sod all about it at first, and then you pick up little hints and tips and things that work for you. And I suppose in a bad way, you avoid doing things which doesn't help. Like, you get yourself further bogged down, but you do whatever you do. You do whatever you can to cope.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think just going off the back of that, of what you're saying there, I think you're right, really. I think I can go back to sort of about 14, 15 when I really started to. I didn't know that until sort of 10 years later, but I think at the time I just used to think I was really nervous about things, just going back to playing football on a Sunday morning, and not putting myself to play for the county team and stuff like that, just thinking that I was going to fail. But then as I got older, and certain things didn't help myself, with what I was doing, going out drinking all the time, not the best for the mental health, and just getting caught up in being a young lad, really. But I think as you get a bit, sort of get past about 22, 23, you start to, I think you realise that, you know, these feelings you have of anxiety, it's hard because I think sometimes we can mistake it for nervousness, you know, sometimes when you get that feeling in your belly. But I think, as you say, I think as you do open up about it more and look into it more and research it more, you realise, you know, anxiety it's everywhere in life. You know, it's from anything really, from in hospitals to, you know, even people who've had physical health problems. You know, that tends to lean onto anxiety because of that. So it is one of them things, I think, where I think first of all, I think about that really. But I just wondered what, in terms of, I know you spoke about support, as in, you know, going private, which was something I actually had to do in the end. So I think I was about 23, and after, you know, going backwards and forwards to the doctor, same as you, really being told to, you know, to stop smoking, stop drinking, cut down drinking, stuff like that. And I think you get yourself into a bad headspace really, because you feel like no one's listening to you, and it's not that no one's listening to you. It's just, you know, the NHS, I suppose, is so overwhelmed anyway at the moment. But, you know, I think I had to do that, where I had to go and pay for something private, and then I think, you know, because, you know, they specialise in that sort of field, or, you know, mental health, I think, you know, it's easier to get more clarification off them, and then they can give you, you know, things to look at, mechanisms to cope with it, you know, whether it's meditating, exercising, that kind of thing. But I suppose, you know, which was the, you know, obviously you say you went down the private route. What did they do for you in terms of, you know, like, you know, things to give you to cope? Or
I think, like, touching on the private thing, it's difficult, man, because, like you say, yeah, maybe they're experts in their field, but they're also, like, they're making a living out of it. So you got to be careful who you're picking. Like, I think the advice is to pick somebody who, because you see, like, I remember looking at websites back in the day and just seeing they do bereavement stuff and relationship stuff. You want to try and find somebody who's specifically dealing with anxiety or mental health or whatever. But for me, it was kind of like, I went to see a woman, and it was costing me, like, it was breaking the bank. I couldn't afford to do it, but I felt like I had to. But we were just tailoring each session. Like, we do different mindfulness stuff, or we talk about issues, and, like, there was no set sort of path. And that's the issue with the NHS therapy, is that they're all given like, every therapist is told, this is what you're going to do. You got 6 weeks or 8 weeks to get through this crap, and it doesn't work for everybody. And that's the issue.
I think that adds to the anxiety as well, doesn't it? Is, you know, when you're being told, if you're giving, you know, try this for 8 weeks, or, you know, 8 months, 6 months, and then you do it, and I think, you know, you're kind of anxious, thinking, well, what about at the end of it? You know, what am I going to do? And I think that was one thing I wanted to mention, to be honest, today. I think, you know, in terms of when I've had a few times where I have, you know, really been really bad, and luckily, if it weren't for my other half, you know, I don't know what I would have done. But I think the thing is now is, you know, I have a lot of people getting in touch with me saying, oh, how do I go about getting counselling? And I mean, I know when I did it a few years ago, no, it was quite difficult. I think it was like a 2 or 3 month wait. So I'm guessing
the waiting lists are crazy.
Going to be a lot longer now, definitely. But, you know, I mean, I don't know whether any of you two have ever sort of had any contact or anything, but I've found, you know, like, there's so many support groups out there, you know, in terms of sort of like Rethink Mental Illness, Calm Zone. There's so many different ones, and I just think, you know, my personal experience, ringing them, just having someone through a non-judgmental view, just to listen to what you're going through. You know, you've never seen them, you don't know who you are, and I thought that was going to be weird, but to be honest, that was the best thing I ever did.
For me personally, I think 2 points. I feel that stuff like dealing with, you know, your mental health and getting professional help, I've always felt that should be free. And I think it should be government funded. I'm not saying, obviously, that people who do the job shouldn't get paid for it, because obviously they should, because a lot of them do a fantastic job. But I do think it's one of those things that should be government funded, and not just, you know, NHS wise. I do think, you know, more private companies should be invested into, but, you know, the likeliness of that ever happening is slim. And for me, money is such a huge, I think it's such a huge part of the modern mental health, especially at the moment with the pandemic, because a lot of people are struggling to make a living. And I think a lot of people would struggle to actually achieve much from private help because of the money worries around it. So
it just creates a whole nother problem.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why I do believe it should be free, because I mean, me in particular, it's only now that I've really started to hold down a job. I only had 2 jobs before the current scouting job I'm doing now. But before that, I'd had a job at Asda, which I lost within a month because I fell out with the head of security. I had a job as a waiter, but I hated it. I never wanted to attend, so I'd constantly call in sick. But that was because I worked at a golf club, so there was such a high standard. I tell you what, that I used to panic quite a lot about that, because we used to. It was in Burton. We used to hold, player awards evenings for like Burton Albion. And they'd have the chairman there, Ben Robertson. When you had events like that, you worried. Like,
of course.
It was hard not to kind of. You didn't want to drop a glass that day, basically. But no, just environments like that in particular. But no, I definitely think that money is a big influence on it, and private help should be free, because I don't think you'll ever truly achieve any progress if you're constantly worried about paying for it, unless of course you're loaded. So
and that's the problem at the minute, isn't it? As you've just said, really, with a lot of people either furloughed, lost their jobs, probably not working as many hours. If you're paying, I know when I had to do it was probably, Billy, you'll probably know, it's probably around about 50, 60 pounds.
I was paying 50 quid a week.
So I mean, and I think they advise you to kind of try and have 2 a month, which 100 quid a month, if you're paying your rent and your bills and you've got kids or whatever, it's just impossible, really, isn't it? But I think that's where, just listening to Tom then as well, just hearing it from that, I suppose now for younger people like yourself, I mean, you're about 19, are you, Tom? Sorry.
I'm 18.
18. I mean, I suppose, something that I haven't really thought about, to be honest, is with the pandemic at the minute, is, people like yourself, it's worrying, because you come out of school or college or whatever, you've got a set path, haven't you, normally, whereas now, with all this going on, I suppose, you're applying for things, people don't need people because of, they can't open the shops or whatever. So I can't even imagine, being that age again now and having to go through all that in this moment.
I'm very lucky in the regard that obviously the scouting that I do for FC20 now, I wouldn't have got that opportunity if my dad hadn't spent like hundreds of odd quid on the course that I did to get there. So no, I never would have been able to afford it. Ever since I left Asda, I've been pretty broke, to be honest. I spend my money wisely and where I can.
He spends it on Blues shirts.
I do.
He's got a different one on.
Honestly, you should see the retro shirt collection I have, but that's the sort of thing I end up spending my cash on when I shouldn't. I should probably save it more. But no, I'm lucky in that regard that I've now broke into the industry I want to work in. So no,
that's good.
I
just wanted to say something about the therapy thing. One of the mistakes that I made, because I think the NHS, like, they do try. Obviously, they're restricted with funding and stuff. But the problem that I made when I first went for CBT was that I expected it to cure me.
Yeah.
Like, I went into therapy and I thought, this guy, I'm going to see him for a few weeks. I'm going to come out of this different. He's going to give me the magic pill or whatever. But you've just got to go into it and know that it's not as easy as that.
That's
you're
what
the only
it is,
person that can change the issue.
Exactly.
And I think, I've been there many a time where I've done that, and I've tried to stick to a schedule for 5 or 6 days, and then it goes out the window, and then next week you think, why do I still feel like this? But it's like you say, it's putting in the hard work. I mean, I always say this, and it's very cliche, but there's some mornings where, I wake up and I just can't be arsed. And the one thing that, it makes me, put me in a good mood. And for years, I still don't do it as much as I should, but if you can just take yourself outside, go running, jog on the spot inside, do some press, whatever it is, even if it's 5 minutes of exercise, your brain feels so much better for it afterwards. With all the, is it like serotonin levels and stuff, the chemicals, so it makes you feel better. And I think, there's definitely things we can do. And I mean, I know it's hard at the minute, everyone's sort of stuck in their own house, aren't they? But in regards to therapy, definitely, I think it's something, you've got to sit down and you've got to work out a plan. And I think, to be honest, as you've just said, I think once you've done a little bit of research into it, the best person to do that is either yourself or, if you live with someone, your partner, your wife or whatever, just get them to do it. Because I think that's another problem. And I found that, over a lot of people I've spoke to over the years is especially, you know, I understand if you live on your own, you know, it's hard, you haven't got anyone. But if you do live with someone, I think as blokes, I think we often think that, you know, the female side are against us sometimes. And I think,
Yeah.
you know, just
Oh,
by
they
opening up to them and listening to, I mean, how many times does it, you know, you do something and you other half will come over to you and say, no, don't do it like that. And you don't want it to say it, but afterwards you think, yeah, good, you know, good job you said that. So I just think, you know, there's loads of talking, making people to talk to, like I say, support groups if you live on your own.
It's
But
important, man. It's important to speak to other people.
yeah,
I think there comes a point where you can talk too much about your stuff, though. So you got
Yeah.
to find a balance. There's a balance in everything. Like I used to spend days on end. If I was going through a rough patch, I'd focus all my attention on how I'm feeling. I'd
Yeah.
only talk to people about how I'm feeling. And it wouldn't be until I stopped doing that and just talk to people about anything, like blues or the weather, then your mind starts to get distracted from what you're thinking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes I don't recommend support groups. Like they're good. They can be helpful, but you can go on and you can just constantly seek reassurance and stuff. So for
Yeah.
me in particular, like an anxiety disorder, it's not good to keep doing that because you're just reaffirming the message that something's wrong with you when there
And
is
I think,
nothing. There's nothing wrong.
I think that's quite key there as well, only because I've done both as well. I've done one-to-one and I've, like you say, sort of support group.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like I was alienated. I think, as you just said, I think if you do suffer with a bit of anxiety anyway, I think that just adds to it even more. One, because you don't know anyone in the room, you've never met anyone. And for me, I just felt like I didn't speak. I just didn't speak to anyone. I just went there and I just sat there and didn't say anything, which they allow you to do. Obviously, that's fine, but I just didn't really think I was getting out anything out of it. Whereas, you know, if you can just get to the one counselling, you know, I personally think that's much better. As you say, there's no pressure on it, is there? You know, it's just sort of you in a room with someone else and easy as that, really.
Yeah.
But just go on, Tom, sorry.
No worries. I was just going to ask you a quick question, Billy.
Go on.
I obviously you do your gaming, and I imagine that's got you through a lot of lockdown. Has there been anything else in particular that you've maybe something new you've started, or just something you've tried, other than gaming?
Me and my brother converted a Citroen Berlingo to a micro camper van.
That is quite the project.
Yeah, it was good, man. We made money on it. We sold it. It was good. But yeah, no, other than like gaming, I don't know, I work from home as well. So I literally spend 24 hours a day at home. Like, so the lockdown thing hasn't really changed anything for me. So like you saying, have I come up with anything new? It's just like same old.
Yeah.
Like I work from home, I game from home. So nothing's really changed for me in
experience is
lockdown.
helpful.
Well, I was kind of like people that suffer with agoraphobia are perfectly primed for a lockdown. Like it's not really changed our lives. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Nothing's really changed. The only thing that I'm noticing now is that me and my girlfriend used to go away for like weekends and stuff, and we haven't been able to do that. So that's the only thing that I've noticed.
I was gonna say, do you do anything kind of in place at that at home? So like, I suppose a lot of people, you could go with the classic of date night. Do you do anything kind of to make up for those lost weekends? Or
I'll sometimes make her sit and watch the Champions League. But
I rate that. I fully rate that. That's
we haven't really. Nothing's changed. Like she works long hours. I work stupid long hours from home. So nothing's really changed. It's just.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, with lockdown, I think I said this to someone a few weeks ago, actually. And I think, you know, I'll be honest, in the first lockdown last year in March it was, I was kind of, it sounds really horrible, I don't mean it horrible at all, but I was kind of like, I mean, I've never had longer than like 2 weeks off in about 10 years. So I was like, you know, I'm ready for a month off, you know, sort of paid. And then I think by the time now, you know, we're in a year later, I'm, excuse me, back in another one, you know, now I'm just like, I can't wait to go back to work. And I think the one good thing with anxiety, it's made me realise definitely is, as much as I don't really like going to work and getting up in the morning, just having that structure in your day, you know,
you see the benefit of it.
Mentally. You know, definitely. You know, like stupid things like going to Greg's in the morning and getting a coffee. Like I'm missing doing that, and you know, just things like that. Really, just your little things in the day that make it better normally. And I think for me, I've always thought I'm quite antisocial, but I think with the job that I do, that's my sort of social time where I have 20-minute chats, you know, with 10 15, 20 different people all day. And I think,
Yeah, yeah.
not having that has been difficult, really. And I can imagine, it's the same for someone, being sort of Tom's age. At that age, I said to someone previous, if I couldn't even imagine it going back to that age now, and being 18 and someone saying that's it, you're not going out. It's like, it's what being 18 is all about, isn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's definitely affected the younger generation more than it has my generation. Like I'm talking about myself as if I'm an old man, but I pretty much am. I'm freaking early 40s. But yeah, I don't think it's not changed. Like the social circle, my social circle is non-existent anyway, apart from people on social media, really. So nothing's really changed there. So I don't know, but the younger generation, like not being able to get out.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me personally, it's mainly been missing blues. Like that was what I spent virtually every week doing. Like honestly, I look forward to away days a lot more than I look forward to home games. Just because I love the feeling on an away day. Like there's nothing like it. Build up to the game, you get your food, get your program, get your drink.
Just having a breakfast, getting on the track, all that. And
Yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah.
everything. Honestly, especially trips to London, nothing beats a London away day.
I've never been to an away match ever.
Have you not? I honestly, after all this is done, I highly recommend it because it's a completely different ball game to a home game. But the atmosphere.
I think you feel sort of more together. I think, don't you, in a group?
Yeah.
Because there's less of you. Yeah.
So no, that's what I've missed mainly, and obviously I miss seeing my mates, like just having around, a few beers, play some Xbox, whatnot.
That's something. I've been saying to a lot of people as well that the escapism. That's what football is, isn't it? It's an escapism, and I do it myself. Where I can be having a shit day all day and negative, but if Blues are playing at 7:45, whether we've lost 10 games on the bounce previous,
Blues are still there and ready with the baseball bat to hit you back down.
And it's like I'm taking took a lot of stick yesterday for being quite positive about Blues, and my one thing is what else can we do really? I think in terms of there's been times where Blues have lost in the past and I've gone home, I've been miserable, I've gone to bed early, and sometimes I kind of think to myself, that's not my other half's fault. And I think I'm guessing there's probably a lot of that at the minute with everyone being in the same house as well.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's just giving you that something where you can switch off from your day, Monday to Friday job. Like Tom said, get up, have a few beers, go out with your mates, and that, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Really. But just moving on to the work that you've done previous, Billy. So I mean, you can obviously explain it better than me. I know you started off with a group called Anxiety United.
That's correct. Yeah. So I started that, I think it was 7 years ago. That was basically, I think it was my third lot of CBT, and I decided that I was going to share my experiences. So make videos or blog posts about it. Started a YouTube channel and that. Oh no, I already had a YouTube channel because years ago I used to post videos of me trying to walk around a supermarket or something like that and freaking out. So that used to be my thing. I'd put myself out there, I'd go shopping, even though it was making me have panic attacks, but I'd film it so other people could see this is what it looks like. And it was for me to go back, look at and say okay, maybe I freaked out, but I didn't die like that, because that was the fear. And then I just started this Twitter thing and built a website, and it became some big social media freaking thing. I think people think that it's a big organization because it's got a nice logo and posh website and that, but that's because I did it. That's my job.
Yeah.
But other than that,
talented with Adobe.
Yeah, exactly. A wizard on Photoshop. As you can see from my thumbnails. Yeah. But that's what it started out as, and then it just became this group, and there was a bunch of us that were doing that, posting videos and stuff, and I don't know, that's where it went. I was making my idea was to try and give something back, like Tom was saying a minute ago about it being free. The thing for me was even charities need to raise money, and that there's always financial things when it comes to anything. You've either got to pay for your therapy or the charity needs money, where I just thought I could make resources. I know what helps me. I'd had anxiety for 10 years at that point almost. So I thought I'm just going to make resources and make them free. Just give as much help as I can back to other people, because I was feeling all right when I first made it. So it was I'm just going to put this together, put it out there, and if people want to use the resources, like I'll make videos and CBT worksheets and stuff like that. So that's what was done. And then I don't know. that's what happened. It
The
just turned it.
happiness that must give you, though, like
It's
you know,
good, man. Like I think I'm just short of 20k subscribers on YouTube with that channel. And like the amount of positive stuff that I get. Like if I don't post a video for a month, I've got people messaging me, like on Facebook or commenting on YouTube, like, what you doing? Where are you? I need you.
Sorry, Billy. But do you know, when you say, obviously you started that, and I think you said it was about 7 years ago, didn't you, the other day? I mean, I think with what you've done is brilliant, and I think, do you think? I mean, you look at 7 years ago, and sort of, I said to you the other day, didn't I? And not many people was talking about mental health, and especially like within sort of
there
sports
weren't many at all, man.
But don't you find that strange? How we've sort of got into you think there'd be more people doing it, and we'd be better off now, don't you? Really, but I suppose,
I think,
like as you say, I think there's
there's an issue with mental health being watered down by people because like people break a nail and then they post on Twitter that they've just had a panic attack. You know what I mean? Or they snap the lead off their pencil and they've got anxiety.
Yeah.
But that's crap. Like there's real issues out there. People that have disorders. There's a difference between having anxiety and having an anxiety disorder.
Yeah,
I think,
well, it's one thing when you was just saying. Sorry, I just wanted to touch on that. I know when you was talking about going into the supermarkets and stuff like that, and with the job I do, I'll be the most honest person here and say, people have laughed at me in the past, customers, whether it be people I've worked for saying that I've got anxiety, because they're like, well, how can you have anxiety, but you stand there all day and you cut like 20 people's hair? I've said to people, you don't understand, to the point where I kind of felt like I'm in a box when I'm standing there cutting hair. You can feel that many people watching you from behind, and you're having to be sort of 20 different people because of what different people want to talk about. And I've struggled with it for years, and I've felt, definitely in the last 2 years, just by, I think I was scared of telling people, I work with, because I thought I don't want to think I'm a weirdo or anything like that. But I think, once you start to open up, and as you've just said, once you start to, it's catch-22, and you're doing stuff for yourself and for other people, you're helping yourself, but it does help other people at the same time. And I think with what you set up there, man, I think that's, especially with it being 7 years ago, I think that's absolutely brilliant.
I think we just have to drop the ego thing, man. Nobody is immune from panic attacks or depression or any of it. Like anybody can get it. Any of your family members, like your own kid, if you're somebody that belittles people with anxiety, like your own child could grow up and have that kind of disorder. Like nobody's immune to it. So you need to be prepared to just, I don't know, like ease off the stigma shit, and that's it.
Yeah. So I know then, Billy, you also said you set up a page after, I think it was more recently, No Stigma Gaming. So, if you just want to tell us a little bit about that.
I did, man. That was December the 31st. I decided, because my son was doing gaming videos on YouTube and stuff, and I thought I'll have a bit of that. Because I've played PlayStation for as long as I can remember. So I just thought I'd have a go at that, and I called it No Stigma Gaming. And the idea initially was to create a group for people that struggle with mental health, that want to find other people that they can game with, like on your war zones and your whatever, COD, FIFA. So people could just play without a fear of judgment. You know what I mean? If they want it, if they say they're having a bad day or they're on COD in a party, and they can tell other people how they feel instead of just pretending that everything's okay. So that was the idea. Just, there's no stigma attached. Like, join me. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant, isn't it? Like you say, I suppose you have I'm not very techie, but I suppose, you have like a chat room in there, and like you say, you can, get to know with like-minded people who, relating to you, going through similar things. And obviously, I suppose you make good
He's frozen.
friends from that as well.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that everybody feels like they're the only person. That's, from my experience, it's like you feel alone. But when you realize that you're not, like there's people in your situation doing all kinds of things. Like there's probably people out there knitting that have anxiety, and there would be you could make a freaking group for that.
Yeah.
There's always people with the same interests as you out there that are struggling or going through similar things. And sometimes it's nice to join up, not to talk about, like, the No Stigma Gaming thing isn't about let's talk about mental health. It's about let's play games. But if we're feeling bad, we can just say whatever and nobody's going to judge. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing.
I think that's the thing, and I think that's one of the reasons. I do. I've said it to people before. I do get anxious. I think when I first started doing podcasts and stuff, I didn't really thought, how can I do that? And like I don't really like being on camera and stuff. But I think in terms of you can make your own little support group, with good people. Even if it's just 3 or 4 of you in a WhatsApp group or anything like that, really. But if you can just spur each other on, and like you say, you don't even have to talk about mental health, do you really? But it's just
No,
being
that's the
in that
point.
group of
Yeah,
people that you can confide in and trust, and know, like you say, non-judgmental, really.
Talking about being nervous before, like doing podcasts on my Anxiety United channel, when lockdown first started, I started a thing called the decaf coffee morning, because it's got to be decaf.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. It was like 9 o'clock. I'd do an hour every morning, and I would wake up freaking anxious every morning. Like, it didn't get any better. So
Yeah.
I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Doing anything live, like streaming, I don't know what it is, because I'm still, like, I'm sitting here at my computer, which is where I sit for 12 minimum hours a day every day. But just the thought of knowing that people are watching me at exactly this moment, it's
Yeah.
scary, man.
Yeah.
For
And I think the
me,
thing is go on, sorry, Tom. Go on.
I was just going to say quickly, like for me, one of the things that really tends to get to me sometimes is comment sections.
Yeah.
Particularly, do you know what? On YouTube, I don't think I've seen on our channel a bad comment.
Prepare yourself.
I was going to
So-
say
You're
it's
gonna be
coming now,
flooded now.
mate.
Same for Instagram. Like I've not really had any, but Twitter. Oh my god,
Mhm.
it's one of the most toxic social medias out there. It's the one I use the most, but it is probably the most toxic. And I mean, you'll produce content, and it might not be to somebody's taste. It doesn't mean you have to let us know that it's not to your taste, and let us know very specifically how much it's
just
not to
move
your
on.
taste.
Yeah, don't watch it.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I
think-
say.
Yeah, I've always said, if you don't like something, either unfollow them. You don't have to look at it again then, or you can. There's a lot of things you can do, isn't there? But I think it's one thing that I know to be at the minute, isn't it? In sort of the headlines, stuff like online trolling and stuff like that. And I've never understood it myself. Really,
I get it.
Why put people down?
I get it, but what I'm saying.
No, I
sorry,
mean, I get it. I get bad comments sometimes on my
Yeah.
videos and stuff. Like, it just
Oh
happens.
yeah, days. I can't understand. If you feel something like that, like what I just would never do that. I'd never comment on someone's thing saying, oh, you're fat, or this, or
I don't get that.
I can't see what you're going to get out of it. And in the long run, people aren't gonna like you, are they? So
Yeah, that's it. You can't please everybody, can you?
yeah, and I think, to be
Can't
honest,
please
I think
everybody.
that's something I struggled with a lot. Not really to do with sort of social media, but yeah, I suppose other people's perceptions of you and what people think of you. And I think it's definitely something. I'm only 27, but it's definitely something again in the last couple of years where I think I just don't really give a toss anymore, to be honest. And I think
Yeah. I've always felt like that. Like, when I first started putting videos on years ago, like, I'd have people saying, like, how can you post videos? Like, you feel anxious and you've got social anxiety and that. How can you do that? But I just don't care.
How can you truly get past things if you don't? Like,
Yeah.
everyone's got their own
exactly.
way.
And that was the big thing for me.
It's stupid because I don't care what people think. Yet if I walk into a shop and there's more than 3 people, I'll be freaking out.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I don't know. I'm strange.
Nah, mate, no such thing as strange.
Oh, there is.
Do you know, it's like the feeling at the moment. Like, I think the closest thing you can get to that kind of feeling that with the shop thing, is if you walked into a shop without a mask on.
Yeah.
See,
And
for
everybody
me,
looking at you.
yeah, and for me, I struggle with the masks. Like, I've not got the best. Not got the best lungs on the planet. I've had my fair share of inhalers. So no, I don't get on with them. But some of the glares I get, I honestly feel like I've killed their family.
I think you make a good point, but the massive difference there is that if you walk into a shop without a mask now, people are looking at you. But if you've got social anxiety and you walk into a shop, regardless of the mask and all that, people aren't looking at you. It's you thinking that they are. So that's
definitely
the glaring difference. But yeah, good point.
But no, I think to be honest, I think that's a brilliant point there. Actually, in terms of I've seen it myself where, there's people who, when I've cut their hair and they don't want to wear them, and I get, other people looking at me saying, "Why making him wear a mask?" But I'll come back to my point I just made. Why can't we just all concentrate on what we're doing? Someone's picture online down. The way I look at it is people who do that, they've clearly got issues themselves, really, that need to, I think because there's always a reason behind it, whether you've been treated badly in the past or bullied or whatever, there's definitely something behind that. But no, I mean, in terms of the no stigma gaming, do you plan to sort of build that bigger, or you're just going to see where it goes? Yeah.
That's my primary focus. My customers, because I work for myself, my customers won't let me play Football Manager. They keep asking me to do work and stuff. It's getting really frustrating. But yeah, I'm playing Football Manager at the moment. If you haven't watched it already, you need to go and check it out. I'm the manager of Blues. And talking about comments as well, I put my second video on the other day, and it was I edited a thumbnail with Daniel Sturridge's
Daniel
face.
Sturridge, was it the Jeremy Bella photo as well?
Yeah. And somebody commented. I posted it on a few different Blues groups, and somebody went on to every group and posted fake news.
Sad.
And I was like, "Geez, come on, mate."
To be honest, mate, I wish I had that in my day.
Oh no, I commented and said, "Look, I'm asking a question, not making a statement, so it's not fake news." Because I was asking, "Shall we sign Daniel Sturridge?" I know, yeah, and I put that as well. Like, it's actually a video game.
It was a bit like I don't know if you've seen it, Tom. I think when the Blues Focus posted, I think it was our Rob Keenan interview. Someone put, why would you want to watch that? And
I think
everyone started putting, you're not forced to watch it. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it.
I was going to say, Dana, that was one of the particular ones I was referring
to. Yeah.
Just things like I seen that comment the other day, and I thought, didn't it say why? It just said why, didn't it?
Yeah, why? Sorry, that was it. Yeah.
There was one. Yeah, there was about two actually. There was two that kind of had a dig at it. And I was just like, if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Simple as that.
It's free. It's better than Coronation Street and EastEnders.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, where can obviously your YouTube channel? Just if you just want to give out a bit of information where to find it and stuff, really.
You're giving me a plug opportunity.
Of course I am, mate. Of course I am.
All I care about is YouTube. Sod the Facebook thing. Sod the Twitter thing. Website's average. Just check it out on YouTube. That's all. That's the only place I put the time in. I'm making videos.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say YouTube is where Blues Focus needs to grow at the moment, because I think we've got the social media back in. It's just transferring that onto YouTube at the moment.
It's an issue. It's an issue with all people that use Twitter. If you share a link to YouTube on Twitter, people use Twitter.
Yeah,
so they very rarely cross. So if you share it on Facebook, they're people that are using Facebook.
Yeah. It's the same when you see it on Twitter, when people put like Instagram on Twitter, and then you click the link. I always think that how many people really click the link onto it. If you're on Twitter, you're on Twitter, aren't you? You're not going to
exactly. So
cross over.
The key is to try and just build it on YouTube. Like
so
use a website to direct people to your YouTube. You can do that. But very rarely people go from platform to platform.
So
we have Spotify and Apple as well. So obviously, we try and tailor to people's taste, but obviously you do stuff like that. There will be people that may have YouTube but prefer to listen on Spotify.
Like people that have got earphones in, that are just, I don't know, exercising and listening to the podcast and stuff. You're never going to get them people to go to YouTube. Probably.
Exactly. Yeah, I personally prefer to use YouTube for podcasts. I like seeing it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I always think when you're in the car or something, or if you especially out of lockdown, I think more people probably listen to podcasts rather than watching.
Yeah,
but I think
don't watch YouTube while you're driving.
No, that's right, mate. Good job you said that, then.
Yeah,
but no, I think
unless it's my videos.
Yeah. We'll end it on that then. There, so don't drive and watch YouTube if you've learned anything from this.
That's the moral of the day.
Unless it's Football Manager, Blue knows best. Then you're all right.
But thanks again, Billy, for coming on today, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I think for our first episode, well, mate, again, just really brave of you to come and talk about it, to Tom Oxland as well, mate. Thanks for coming on again.
No worries, mate.
Thank you for listening. And again, if you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to us. As Paul just said, it really helps. But for now, until next time, stay strong and keep right on.